President Trump celebrates his first 100 days with a rally in Michigan.
We are stopping their gravy train, ending their power trip, and telling thousands of corrupt, incompetent, and unnecessary deep state bureaucrats, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired.
We break down his most significant milestones and the president's message.
I'm Daily Wire executive editor John Bickley with Georgia Howe. It's Wednesday, April 30th, and this is Morning Wire.
The MAHA movement has hit the ground running, banning food dyes and investigating the causes of autism.
When my uncle was president, 3% of American kids had chronic disease. Today, it's around 60%.
And our chatbots sexting kids. Meta takes fire again for failing to protect children.
It's disgusting that they are doing this and that they feel that they can get away with it.
Thanks for waking up with Morning Wire. Stay tuned. We have the news you need to know. President Trump is celebrating his first 100 days in office this week, kicking things off with a rally in Michigan on Tuesday night.
Joining us to discuss the president's big event and the messaging from his team about the goals of his second term is Daily Wire senior editor Cabot Phillips. Hey, Cabot. So a big night for the president. The crowds came out for him again. What did we see at this rally?
Well, there's no doubt we saw Trump back in his element. Tens of thousands turned out for what ended up being a political rally, a victory party, and a highlight show all combined into one. The president has made clear that he feels the media has not given him credit for all that he's accomplished so far. And last night was his way of reminding the American people of the campaign promises that he's already fulfilled in these first 100 days. The event, titled the 100th Day in Office Achievement Speech, was held just outside Detroit in Macomb County, which was crucial to his victory in 2024. He kicked things off with this simple message.
This is the best, they say, 100-day start of any president in history. What the world has witnessed in the past 14 weeks is a revolution of common sense. That's all it is, really. We're conservative. You're conservative, you're liberal, whatever the hell. You know what it's all about? It's about common sense. We like strong borders. We like good education. We like low interest rates. We like being able to buy a beautiful car. And now deduct the interest on the loan. That's never happened before.
Later on, the president touted his immigration record and reminded folks of the historic decrease in illegal border crossings we've seen since he took office.
This heinous betrayal is over and that we have achieved the most secure border in American history by far. For 2 months in a row, we have now set all-time records, and this is by the media, the fake news media. The number of illegal border crossers released into the United States is down, listen to this please, 99.999%. 3 people got in. 3. And I got angry as hell at Tom Homan. How did you allow 3, Tom? There's never been such a difference in anything as the difference between the border today and the border what it was just 6 months ago. So I want to say congratulations, America.
The president also made sure to hit on his mass deportation efforts, which have prioritized illegal immigrants with existing criminal records.
Within days of taking office, I signed the Laken Riley Act. Laken Riley, beautiful Laken Riley, who was killed by an illegal immigrant, viciously, violently killed. But I signed the Laken Riley Act to facilitate the expulsion of dangerous criminal aliens, and when necessary, we had to put them in jail. We couldn't take a chance that they'd come back in again. In recent weeks, ICE, who are great, these people are great, has arrested dozens of child rapists along with murderers, kidnappers, drug traffickers, and thieves, and frankly, people from mental institutions. We have also designated 2 bloodthirsty transnational gangs, MS-13 and Trendiaragua, TDA. They've been designated the highest level of terrorists, and that lets us do a lot of things that you wouldn't be able to do. We got to get them out of here before they kill more people. We are delivering mass deportation, and it's happening very fast.
And while Trump spent the majority of his time focused on his own accomplishments, as you can imagine, he made sure to take a few shots at Democrats.
They have no confidence anymore as a party. They have no candidates. And you know, when they say that Bernie's probably the best they have. By the way, he's about 7 years older than me, more, 8 years older. One thing I got to give him credit, he's a lunatic, but he's still pretty sharp.
And Trump did not back off his support of tariffs, assuring some anxious Americans that deals were coming.
No, you're going to see numbers, and you're already seeing them. Look, we have many Hondas coming in, and they're coming in. We let them build their cars here. We don't want them to build them in Japan. We love Japan. We don't want them building them in Japan. We want them to build them here. So I want to just let you know you're going to be very proud of this country very soon. And with my China tariffs, we're ending the greatest job theft in the history of the world. China's taken more jobs from us than any country has ever taken from another country. And that doesn't mean we're not going to get along. We get along with China. I mean, their tariff now is at 145%. So essentially, that's a big difference between that and zero. But I think it's going to work out. They want to make a deal, and we're going to make a deal.
Now, Macomb County is one of the country's largest automotive manufacturing hubs. And as you can imagine, Trump made sure to address how his policies will benefit the American auto industry.
I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state. I love this state. Got a lot of auto jobs coming. Watch what's happening. The companies are coming in by the tens. You got to see what's happening. They all want to come back to Michigan and build cars again. You know why? Because of our tax and tariff policy.
And one more interesting note, before his rally, the president made a stop at Selfridge Air National Guard Base outside Detroit, where he was joined by an unlikely visitor, Michigan's Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer. The two have clashed publicly over the years, but Whitmer has gone to the White House multiple times, lobbying, among other things, for more funding for the Selfridge base. And Trump agreed it was a good idea. So a little bit of bipartisanship there in Michigan yesterday.
Wow. Definitely a surprising guest there. And Trump really leaning in. He's saying, hey, I'm charging forward with my agenda, setbacks or not. Yeah. Cabot, thanks so much for reporting.
Absolutely.
If you run a small business, you know there's nothing small about it. That's where Shopify comes in. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world that helps tackle all the important tasks in one place, from inventory to payments to analytics and more. With 99.99% uptime and the best converting checkout on the planet, you'll never miss a sale again. Get all the big stuff for your small business right with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/morningwire. Go to shopify.com/morningwire. Again, that's shopify.com/morningwire.
Less than a month into Trump's second term, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was sworn in as the Secretary of HHS and directed by President Trump to make America healthy again.
Here to discuss the biggest MAHA updates is Daily Wire reporter Amanda Prestigiacomo. So, Amanda, RFK has hit the ground running. First, let's talk about food. What are the biggest updates there?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest updates came just last week when Kennedy announced that he's phasing out a number of artificial food dyes and colorings by the end of 2026. Specifically, he'll ban petroleum-based synthetic dyes, including red 3 and red 40, blue 1 and 2, yellow 5 and 6, and green 3.
I was talking with my staff about these petroleum-based dyes, and I said if they want to add petroleum, they want to eat petroleum, they ought to add it themselves at home. But they shouldn't be feeding it to the rest of us.
Another huge development is the transformation of SNAP, commonly known as food stamps. Kennedy has made it clear that he doesn't want highly processed junk food being purchased with SNAP, and he's encouraging states to submit a waiver to the Department of Agriculture so they can limit SNAP purchases.
Apply for a waiver to my agency, and we're going to give it to you. But that's the way we're going to win this.
Okay, a lot more on food, so we'll make this quick. Kennedy has also directed the FDA to revise a rule that used to allow companies to self-affirm the safety of some food ingredients. Under this new revision, manufacturers are going to have to publicly submit safety data for all new ingredients, so more oversight. The FDA also unveiled a tool back in March, and that's going to allow people to look up chemical contaminants in their food from a large database. You can find that on the FDA website. And one last note on food, RFK is tackling baby formula with Operation Stork. The FDA is increasing testing for heavy metals and other contaminants and encouraging companies to work with the FDA so they can maximize transparency and provide clear labeling on formula.
Now, there's also been a lot of talk about vaccines and autism, particularly around the confirmation of RFK. This was a big topic. What are the developments there?
Well, on vaccines, the National Institutes of Health, which is part of HHS, said that it's going to stop spending money to find out why Americans are hesitant to take vaccinations. NIH is terminating or scaling back more than 40 related grants, and they said that sort of spending just doesn't align with NIH priorities anymore. However, money is being spent on autism research. Kennedy launched a $50 million initiative aimed at investigating the causes of autism and improving treatments. In April, he announced that he's commissioning a series of studies on suspected links to higher autism rates. That includes mold, pesticides, food chemicals, medications, and ultrasounds during pregnancies. He also set a tight deadline on finding these contributing factors.
We've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
Overall, there's just a real shift at HHS in what the department is prioritizing. Kennedy famously took Doge-like actions to the department last month, and he terminated tens of thousands of employees that he said were either from duplicate departments or unnecessary bureaucracy. He's also reallocating funds he's cut from NIH and the CDC to instead address chronic disease. And as I mentioned earlier, tens of millions of dollars are going towards autism research. But this seems like just step one for Kennedy in his MAHA actions. He signaled that he's taking on the pharmaceutical industry next.
Well, a lot of parents are very interested in this movement. Amanda, thanks for reporting.
You're welcome.
Meta, the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, has caused alarm over its new AI chatbots, which some staffers say will talk sex with kids.
Daily Wire investigative reporter Mairead Elordi joins us now with the details. Hey, Mairead. So a lot of concern about these chatbots. Why are people so worried?
Hey, John. So some employees at Meta say the company rushed to get these new digital companions or chatbots up and running on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. And because these bots can perform sex role plays, there's now a problem where children can get exposed to sexually explicit discussions. These chatbots can flirt over text, they can have live voice conversations, and they can even share selfies. This all came out in the Wall Street Journal's bombshell report last week.
Okay, so staffers say that Meta just rushed this out too quickly, did not put in the proper protections for children. Is that correct?
That's right. And another related issue is that sometimes the AI chatbots will have sexual discussions even when they're programmed to pretend to be children. So that's also concerning. And then also Meta made deals with celebrities like John Cena and Kristen Bell to use their voices for the chatbots. The company promised these actors that their voices would not be used in sexually explicit discussions. But the Wall Street Journal tested this out and found that a bot using Cena's voice was willing to engage in a graphic sexual scenario with a user identifying as a 14-year-old girl, creepily promising to cherish your innocence. And a bot using Kristen Bell's voice flirted with a user posing as a 12-year-old boy, and the bot did it as Belle's character, Princess Anna, from the Disney movie Frozen. Disney put out a statement demanding Meta put a stop to this.
Really disturbing. Now, lawmakers have gotten involved, correct?
Yes, and it's bipartisan. GOP Senator Marsha Blackburn and Democrat Senator Richard Blumenthal sent a letter to Mark Zuckerberg on Tuesday demanding answers. We spoke to Blackburn, who's also calling for legislation, and here's what she had to say.
What we would like for them to do is to take this down. We understand that there are Meta employees that have raised concerns about this. We do know that. So they should put a halt to this. And the other accountability is to demand that we pass the Kids Online Safety Act, that we get it signed into law, and that they comply with that law.
Blackburn also pointed out how the internet still has a Wild West quality to it when it comes to children's safety.
You couldn't take them into a bar. You couldn't take them into a strip club. But look at what they're being exposed to in the virtual space. Let's disable these algorithms that are continuing to expose our children to pedophiles and drug dealers and to pornographic activity like you're seeing in the AI chatbot.
All right, so a bipartisan response there from lawmakers. Has Meta responded to these concerns?
Yes, they have. Meta said that the way the journal tested the chatbots was, quote, manipulative, but they did make some changes, including banning kids' social media accounts from being able to do sexual role plays with the Meta AI bot and cracking down on it being able to do those role plays using celebrities' voices. And by the way, Mark Zuckerberg himself reportedly pushed Meta to loosen restrictions on the chatbots to make them more engaging.
Well, certainly a major concern for parents here. Marit, thanks so much for reporting.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for waking up with us. We'll be back tomorrow with more news you need to know.